I've seen so many complaints about Max Factory leaving a hole behind on the right knee over here just so that we can secure the briefcase in place. What is wrong with that hole on her knee? Because you are never going to see it. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven today with a scale figure review. This is probably a rather highly anticipated review, though I'm not the first one to review this figure. There are at least 2 or 3 other reviews out there by other YouTubers by now. Partly thanks to HobbyLink Japan for delaying my parcel even though I paid for EMS. All because they have some kind of warehouse renovation going on, and then I waited for weeks for this thing to be shipped out. Anyways, I am going to address a lot of the complaints from you guys and also from myself into this review. So this is going to be a very interesting review, even though this is mostly just a plain Bunny Girl when you look at the full package. So we are looking at Max Factory's 1/7 scale Asuma Toki from Blue Archive. Official MSRP price before shipping or taxes is 18,000 Japanese yen, and release date was June 2025, just more than a month ago she came out. So this is a very new release and you should be able to find her widely in stock as long as you get it fast, right? But my personal opinion is that no matter how popular Asuma Toki is, I don't think she will sell out that quickly or become rare that soon. And even if she does become rare, I think Max Factory will re-release it, just like what happened to Asuna Ichinose, which is the one right behind me right there. I like that figure a lot. Max Factory did an amazing work. And speaking of that Asuna Ichinose behind me, in her box right there, I bring up this Asuma Toki's box right here, and the design language is exactly the same. Their boxes are identical. Color scheme, design language and everything, just as stuff. Very high quality box. This is very difficult to dent. This is hard, right? And it will take quite a bit of effort to damage the box. So this is a very good box. High marks from me when it comes to packaging with this Asuma Toki figure. And speaking of the height of the figure, the size, right? This is quite big for 1/7 scale. I was pleasantly surprised. Overall height of the figure, including the bunny ears, is a bit over 31 centimeters. And then if you deduct the bunny ears, it is a bit over 28 centimeters head height over here, not including the ears or the halo behind her head. So this is a very tall figure, and she is almost approaching 1/6 scale territory if compared to some other scale figures by other companies where they say they are making 1/6, but the size of the figure is slightly smaller than the usual 1/6. Then this is a bit like 1/6.5 rather than 1/7, but you know, scales never really mean anything when it comes to anime figures. They are often inaccurate. Okay, so with the assembly process of this figure, this is the one thing where things get pretty interesting. Firstly, of course, to plug the figure into the base. Secondly, there is this briefcase in her hand, where I've seen so many complaints about Max Factory leaving a hole behind on the right knee over here just so that we can secure the briefcase in place. My question for you guys, what is wrong with that hole on her knee? Because you are never going to see it. Well, unless you choose not to put the suitcase there and then you have your own special idea, you want to put your own, I don't know, your own Gucci bag over there or something like that, and then you'll see a hole on her knee, yes. But whenever we talk about Blue Archive, it means cute girls with big guns, right? And those guns are often stored inside a briefcase, just like this one over here. In my opinion, this looks more like a nuclear launch code briefcase. You key in the Cerberus codes and you watch the other countries go boom. But anyways, I think this briefcase that she's carrying is a main part of her identity of her character, being someone from Blue Archive. So I don't see any creative ideas that you may be having. Replacing that suitcase, that briefcase with something else is a very good idea, but you can do whatever you want with the figure you paid for. Long story short, I don't think that hole in her right knee is a problem. I mean, you guys have accepted the fact that every Blue Archive figure will have a hole on the back of their heads, right? Because you need to plug in this halo over here. It is not like there is an electromagnetic field for some object to float around. No, you need to plug it in. So why is a hole on the back of her head okay, but not on her knee? Because you prefer to go in from behind. You want a hole behind the figure, but not in front. I get that, but still, weird complaints in my opinion. And speaking of weird complaints, I also have one of my own, which is that ugly seam line on her right shoulder over here, because you can replace her right arm with a different pose, which is a nice bonus at this price point of 18,000 yen. And that seam line is something you are never going to see because her hair will be concealing it. But I was still pretty bothered by it. I guess that I'm no better than you guys in this regard. Just that my complaints is of a different one, but both are weird complaints. Now, stability of this figure is acceptable, pretty good in fact, right? And this is a nice looking base, though I'm not sure if red color over here is the right color. I think it does provide a lot of color contrast when the figure is mostly blue color, and then if you give her a blue base as well, then the colors will look a bit monotonous, so maybe red color is not a bad idea. I do like this red carpet over here. Looks a bit premium, though the base is still pretty hollow. Of course, if you shake it enough, she will still wobble a bit. So the stability on this figure, I can give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah. Now, moving on to the sculpting department of this figure. Once again, if you look at the big picture, this is only a bunny girl figure. So detail levels are not great, except for her hair. So the hair of this figure is one of the best I've seen in terms of sculpting and detail with each hair strand, more like each group of hair in a way. At this price point of 18,000 yen, this hair sculpt is excellent, right? I wish that there is more detail in terms of shading and paintwork, but the hair is remarkably clean. I don't see any ugly gaps or seam lines. I don't see glue leaking out, and I don't see any rough finishes or ugly mold lines. The hair is really well refined over here. The quality of the sculpt is quite remarkable for an 18,000 yen scale figure. And going to the face of the figure over here, this is pretty much Asuma Toki, no complaints from me. In fact, I can't remember the last time Max Factory screwed up the face of any anime figure that they make. So all is good over here, but the rest of the figure, the body, the legs and so on, the torso, standard affair for bunny girl figure, not very detailed. So the best score I can give for this figure in terms of detailing in the sculpt is a 6.5 out of 10. Yes, sounds low, I know, but I will explain near the end of today's video why I gave her 6.5 for the sculpting. Moving on to the paintwork, once again, being a bland bunny girl, there is really not much to appreciate in terms of detail level. You get a very heavy dose of color gradients and weathering on her blue bunny outfit as well as her blue color bunny ear. The paintwork is perfection, like no complaints from me at all. This is as good as it gets for a bunny girl figure. So while the detail levels are on the low side, at least everything was executed to perfection. No scratches, no paint transfer, no paint bleeding, none of that sort. So paintwork is mostly perfect over here, to be expected from Max Factory. And lastly, the base, as I mentioned earlier, I don't think there is much else to discuss. This is a very nice base, I do like it a lot. Just that I wish that the base is a bit heavier, just to make it feel a bit more premium and make the figure a bit more stable in the process. But I wouldn't change a thing on the base. I'm happy with this base over here. I forgot to mention the score I would give for the paintwork of this figure earlier. I gave the sculpt a 6.5 out of 10. The paint, I would also give it a 6.5 or 7 out of 10 maximum. Maybe a 7 out of 10 is warranted given there are no problems at all with the quality part. So why did I give the score so low? Yes, part of it is the low detail at the asking price of 18,000 yen. Now, I know that Max Factory is an A-tier, borderline S-tier figure company. Everything they make are mostly excellent, like among the best in the entire figure industry even. I view Max Factory at the same level as Alter, just in case you did not know. And I regard Max Factory to be a tier higher than Good Smile Company, in fact. But this time around, this figure costing an 18,000 yen, I started comparing her to the lower budget scale figures coming out from China, where many of them are bunny girls, and if you are telling me that the sculpting over here is a lot more detailed, the hair is a lot better, no question about that. But putting aside her hair behind the figure, everything else is mostly on par with those lower budget Chinese figures that cost less than 10,000 yen. And if you were to point to the bunny outfit over here, that heavy, beautiful blue color paint over there, the heavy shading over there, it looks premium, it looks expensive, but guess what? I have reviewed a $30 Chinese figure before that had a very similar paintwork, just like this Asuma Toki, just that it was purple, 3 to 4,000 yen. Yet she had a good dose of weathering and shading with a nice finish on the surface of the bunny suit. So when I start comparing things like that, there is a question to be asked over here. Is 18,000 yen actually overpriced for Max Factory scale figure like this? Like something on the simple side? I'm not sure how to answer this question because each time we see Good Smile or Max Factory put up a Blue Archive scale figure for pre-order at 15, 16, 18,000 yen, we will be screaming that is cheap, and then we smash that pre-order button. And most of the time, to be fair to these companies, the figure turned out excellent. But when I start comparing, to the Chinese brands, then this is starting to feel quite expensive. But guess what? Fans of Asuma Toki will still eat this thing up because this is the very first Asuma Toki figure that is licensed and genuine to be released in the market. More to come from Alter especially, but this is the first one to be out. Just that it is a bit on the plain and simple side. And I do expect Alter to do an even better job than what Max Factory has done over here. Granted, Alter's version is also more expensive, so you're paying for that quality. So until then, I hope that you found this review helpful and informative. If it is, please do subscribe to this channel, help this channel grow, and thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.